All right, we are back. This is Business Center right here on Metropole TV. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi, and today we are talking about soil conditioning, and we have Francescah Munyi here. She's joining us. She's the founder and CEO of Kofa Limited. She's just come to explain to us more about this soil conditioning and what we need to do in order to do this as farmers and people who want to start farming. But first, our question of the day, I want to remind you, our question of the day today is it possible to repair soil organically? Is it possible to repair soil organically? Remember to continue sending us your comments, and remember to also indicate where you're watching us from, and we will read your comments as we continue with the show. But now let's get into this discussion with our guest. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you too.
Welcome. And now you are in the business of soil repairing. Maybe you can start by telling us what Kofa does.
Kofa is a limited company. It's a social enterprise, which is a limited company. By social enterprise means our key business is to make sure that the people we are serving are actually improving their lives. So we process fortified compost and soil conditioners that actually repair the soils, preparing the soils for farming. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And how do you do this? How is the process of repairing this soil?
Okay. First of all, let me say even why the soil needs the repair. Mm-hmm. See, for when the farmers, even if it's coffee farmers or tea farmers or maize farmers or potato farmers, they farm over a long period of time in the same fields, the soil is depleted, or you even have chemical residues building up over years. It could even be 20 years or 30. By this time, the yields are already going down, and it's already an indicator to the farmer that you need to repair your soils. So when we talk of soil conditioning is where we have to break the hard pan, allow more moisture and air to get in. You need to condition the soil so that water can penetrate in the soil and more air, because soil is alive. If your soil is not alive, then the crop can't thrive or give you what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So soil conditioning is very important. For Kofa, we use a product called the KT bar soil conditioner, which is very easy to apply. Just spray on wet soils. During rainy season is when we prefer. Or if you are doing irrigation, you have to make sure your soil is properly wet. Mm-hmm. Then you apply the product. All right. Once per every year. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now, as Kofa, yes, you manufacture soil, right? You manufacture your own soil, or do you take soil and then you say, this is what you are going to do to it, and then now what do you usually do to soil?
Actually, we repair the soils of the farmer. Let's say, for example, if we are if I come to Kirinyaga, and I find the farmers who have been doing tomato farming, now the tomatoes are wilting and rotting. We come to that farm with the soil conditioners and microbes or enzymes and the fortified composts to improve the soil structure, to clean the chemical residues, improve the aeration, build up the microbes, so that when you plant your tomato, it now finds healthy soils. So we don't manufacture any soil. We manufacture products that make sure the soil is healthy. All right. So we help you with what you already have. You already have the soil. So we come and clean your soil for you, return the soil fertility. If your soil is fertile, all the way like it is virgin forest soil, then whatever you plant just thrives with minimal diseases or no diseases at all. You harvest to the maximum yields that crop can produce.
All right. Yeah. And on that point, how does one know if their soil is right for quality production as a farmer?
Before Kitambo, or long time back, the farmers just used to plant anything because it's planting season. Right now, the modern farmer already has a plan of what they want to plant. So by the time they are scouting for an area, they already know in this area, this crop can do well. Say if you're coming to, I'll give an example of maybe Kitare, Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu. It's very good for maize, but right now, maize and wheat. But right now they are having a lot of issues with soil acidity, and the soil needs help. But now, when you go there and you want to force a crop that can do well like rice, you want to force rice that does well in Moya, you want to put it in Kitare, then you'll have issues already with the yields. It may grow because it's a crop, but it will not give you the yields, economical yields that help you break even and make money. So for a farmer who want to do continuous farming, every year you have money enough to go back to farming, then you have to plant the correct crop in the zone that is already marked for that. Our government has done a lot of good things in mapping which area does well for which crop. So if somebody can just be keen enough to find out what grows well in that area, then you will never go so wrong. Also, number two is you practice with a small portion. Say you want to do wheat and you have never grown wheat before, you've never even grown up in an area where they're doing wheat. You just can't wake up one day from Nairobi, you go hire or reach 300 acres and you want to put wheat. You might really lose all the money. But what if you tried with 10 acres first for practice, so that you even know when wheat grows, how does it look like? What does it need? By the time you are now expanding to the full scale, you already know what you're doing. Even for tomatoes or for coffee or tea or whatever you are coming to grow, as a new farmer, you have to try in a smaller portion, and then you scale up. It's the same thing with businesses. You just can't come and wake up one day and you put 20 supermarkets in Kenya. You start with one. You learn how to manage one, and then you scale up and go to other branches. It's the same thing with crops.
Okay.
Yes.
And speaking of this, starting with small amount, you find that in the city, people don't have big shambas where they can go and plant, or maybe a bigger shamba. They usually plant on their balcony or outside the house using sacks. So how can you advise a farmer who plants on the balcony or on using sacks? What can they do in order to make sure that this soil is good for planting?
It's literally to keep in touch with Kofa and use organic products and natural products to maintain what is in that balcony. Because most of the time when you're putting something for the balcony, it's for food, it's for the kitchen, it's horticulture. It's either the vegetables or fruits or spices and herbs. Those are things that you're consuming, some of them raw. You're not even cooking them. So it's better that you don't even use harmful chemicals for what you are really using for you. But even for the people who are doing the big farms in the fields, it's also good to maintain your soils naturally, because the more natural it is, the more it's able to pick vitamins and nutrients from the soil, and it's good for the humans and just even for the animals. So the more toxic chemicals we use in the farms, and some of them we actually overuse or abuse, becomes also harmful to the humans. So we are telling everyone, let's repair the soils so that you don't get so many diseases and pest attacks, and therefore have to hunt for harmful chemicals to use on your farms. If you have no diseases and pests in your farm, you might not really hunt for the chemicals that you need to come and now start handling the diseases and pests. So soil health is number one. It's actually the base, it's the foundation. It's a strong foundation that your crop grows on. It is what dictates what we become. What you eat is what you become. So if we continue contaminating our soils, then the crops we are growing on them becomes contaminated, and then we get more sick. So there is a side before.
You have spoken about repairing soil. What are some of the natural ways that a farmer can use in order to repair their soil?
Literally make use of animal manures, well decomposed animal manures. Also use of composts. You can make a vegetative compost with all the waste materials you're having, or even the weeds that you're weeding from your farm. Those are some of the things that you can use to improve the soil structure, because the humus is very, very important for holding moisture, keeping the moisture enough in your soil, and for the plant to find that there is air and oxygen for the living microorganisms that keep your soils healthy. Healthy soils, healthy crops. So it's very important to have that combination for any farmer to go there.
Okay, and for fertilizers, you've also said that fertilizers really affect the soil. Kindly just explain to us how this happens. Is there a limited amount that a farmer needs to use, or explain to us more about it?
Most of the crop need a specific type of fertilizer. At times, our farmers just use any fertilizer for any crop, which is wrong. If in whichever zone you are in, the people in agriculture have already specialized or told you, you use this particular fertilizer for this crop, and you want to use a different one, whatever else you're using, the crop may not access any nutrients out of it. Number two, when you do your soil analysis, which we do recommend at times, that you have to do your soil analysis preferably every 3 years, not beyond 3 years. But if you really, really are careful with your farms and you stick to organic, you may even skip even 5 years. When you do your soil analysis, there is something they prescribe. They'll tell you what your soil is lacking, what you have in excess. Then when you are going for the fertilizers, you'd use the fertilizers that have those nutrients that your soil is lacking. Because if you use a fertilizer which is having excess, and you come and you already had excess in your soils, then they will become a different form that the crop cannot access. You lock up all the nutrients in your soil because of having that excess that you have put in. So it's important that the farmer has to use the fertilizer that the soil requires, the quantity, and the correct timing. Because if you use it too late or too early, then you still don't benefit your crop. And you also use what the crop needs, not what you think your neighbor has applied. Yeah.
Yeah, and now moving to soil pH now. Fertilizers affect soil pH. Do they affect soil pH?
Yeah, fertilizers do affect the soil pH if applied wrongly. As I've said, if a farmer is using the fertilizers correctly, the crop is going to use all that fertilizer during its growth time. So there will be no waste. But if you over-abuse, if you use the fertilizer wrong, or you use too much of it and it locks itself up, it's left in the soil. The crop grows and matures and finishes all the way to the end, if it was maize or beans or tea or coffee. But it did not use any fertilizer that you applied. That fertilizer now changes the pH of the soil, the one which is left in the soil. So if you keep on using the wrong fertilizer for the correct crop that you have chosen the crop, then you'll keep on changing your soil pH, and it's very necessary that you come and balance that pH, because you really need to keep your soil fit for you to grow any crop on it. Yes.
And do you think that there are crops that do well in soil that has high pH and others in low pH?
Yes. Different crops require different pH. For example, tea requires slightly acidic soil, not too acidic. It can be to the tunes of below 4 and all, but it needs slightly acidic. And other crops like potatoes will require no acidity at all. So yes, it's true. Different crops want different pH, and that's the way they thrive. That's the way they are programmed. The same way some people can do so well in a warm area, others can survive in very cold areas. The same thing.
All right.
Yes.
And what causes this acidity in soil? What really causes it?
One of the biggest trigger is when a farmer is using so much of chemical fertilizers without putting any keen concern on the soil. They're not putting anything to increase their humus and the organic matter. So if you do not balance the humus and the organic matter, is that you change your soil structure, become so compact. So even if you apply your fertilizer, they just build up, they just lock themselves up and literally change the pH, yes. So if the crop cannot access the nutrients, all that residues that build up in the soil, change it. So it's not that the fertilizer per se, the chemical fertilizers alone, if used properly, would change the soil pH. They wouldn't. But when we use them wrong, and most of the time we have used them very wrong, you find that over cumulative years, then our soil is really, really unstable. And even when we grow the crops are not doing so well, you're not really having adequate yields. Some farmers are literally losing over 80% of their yields. They're only harvesting 20, not even breaking even for almost a decade, 10 years. Down the line, you're only removing money from your pocket to keep the farm going. And you don't want your neighbors to see that you're not taking care of your farm. So you're coughing money to come and take care of the farm instead of the farm taking care of itself. So if we balance the soil pH well, and we take care of the soil, increase the fertility, increase the humus. The humus, as I said, is what really helps you improve the soil structure and keep the moisture intact. Then you'll have a lot of problems with the crops and the yields. The pests and diseases follow you everywhere where the pH is bad. Yeah.
And now let's dig deeper into COFA and understand how does COFA engage farmers on how to improve soil? Like, do you go to a farm and say, okay, now we are going to take this sample, or do farmers come to you and state that this is what is happening to their farm?
Actually, mostly we go to the farmers. Give an example, like if we find farmers in a cooperative society, in a group, we'll find the farmers either in groups, and through the cooperative society, they organize the field days. During those field days, now we get to train the farmers, or we have already set the demos where they're able to see the crop that they are talking about or growing in their area. This is how it thrives in healthy soils. So for COFA, we are able to sell the compost, the soil conditioner, which is the KT bar, and the nano AG, which is the enzymes, which increase or revive back soil life, the microbes. So this is what we go to the farmers. Most of the time we go to the farmers. Say for example, even if farmers are in a group, but an informal group, like now we have a macadamia farmer group in Western region, where we're introducing the macadamia crop in Western. It's a tree they don't have cash cropped before, and it's a crop that thrives so well in their area. So as long as they're in a group, we'll visit them, get to see their soils, and if you're having issues with acidity, we clean it for you, return it back to fertility, and help you grow what you wanted to grow there. Makes the farmers very happy when they have yields. Makes us happy too, we are in business. Yes.
And are you stationed you are stationed all over the country, or are you stationed in Nairobi where this is where you operate from?
Actually, we are stationed in Kirinyaga County. But we do go to different parts of Kenya. Our licenses allow us to be in any county in Kenya where a farmer is. So as long as someone is anywhere in Kenya, we can be able to reach to them.
All right.
Yeah.
And do you also advise on crops that need to be grown? Because as you've said, in Western, you've started the macadamia crop in Western. So do you have forums where you tell farmers this is now what is good for your area and the environment and the soil that is here?
Yes. We also do tell the farmers which crops are already being demanded. Instead of farmers just growing something which is not profitable for them, and there's already a shortage of a certain crop that does so well in their area, it's already being demanded in the markets in their zone. We also do advise the farmers on what can you grow, which is already in big demand in your area. Some of them are not aware. Say for example, even again with the farmers in Western region, we are importing chicken and eggs all the way from Uganda. And the farmers in Western is a warmer area than even what we have in Mount Kenya region. That's why they should be doing so much of poultry. Another scenario with farmers who need onions, we are importing onions from Tanzania. We could be doing more onions in Kenya. So when we find farmers in an area and what they are doing is already giving them resources, we do teach them on economical, profitable farming, because farming makes money. Farming has money if you do it well. So we also do show them which crops can be intercropped with others, which one can you rotate with the other one, so that you improve your soil, because crop rotation is necessary. And so you rotate with the crop that is in demand, so that you don't rotate with the crop and you're left with it and you don't know where to sell. So that's what we do, yes, we do advise them.
That's really nice. And now with the weather, that is we are experiencing right now, you find that how can you advise a farmer to work around this weather? Because it's been kind of confusing a bit. Or how can you advise a farmer to work around this weather and how to maintain their soil during this time?
Okay, when it comes to weather, even as we do rely on the very keen and good information from the weather guys, we are having people who are trained on the meteorological department, and they are very good and accurate nowadays. They have modern machines that they are able to detect and tell you it will actually be this cold, it will actually be this warm, it will rain at this time. If people can be keen enough to follow and check, Kenya nowadays we are having very exact weather patterns already predicted by the meteorological departments. People don't want to follow them up, but they're there. So if we can have all the variables that interfere with the yields, then a farmer would be correct. Because there are many variables. The fertilizer is one, the soil is another, the weather is another one. farmers have to embrace the technologies which are there nowadays. Most people have smartphones. You can be able to know what's happening, which weather are you having in your area, and plan accordingly. Yeah.
And I'll read one answer from our question of the day, and when we from the answer, you'll give us like your last advice to young farmers who are coming up and starting their own businesses in the city. Yeah. So we have Fred McCory. Our question of the day was, is it possible to repair soil organically? And he's saying it is possible to repair soil organically. I'm watching from Kibichiku in Kiambu County. Thank you so much, Fred McCory. Keep on watching, and remember to continue sending us your comments. We'll read them as we continue with the show. Now, tell us your last point. How can you advise a young farmer in the city who wants now to start their farming journey, and they want to really invest in this farming? How can you tell them to maintain their soil, and what can they do?
What I would actually tell the young people in the city is that as far as so many people are running away from the rural areas and coming back to the cities, and now you want to do farming, there's so much land in Kenya in the rural areas. And now we have very good infrastructure. You can farm in the rural areas and you work in the cities. So since young people have the energy, they have the time, they are young, they can be able to practice and farm both in the rural areas and in town if they have a small plot, or they have their balcony small farms for kitchen gardens. They can be able to do that and practice very well. And as COFA, we are willing to collaborate with as many, but the rural areas where they were left for, there are so many people who have inherited land that they have left idle. Let them figure out, and they can talk to us. Let them figure out what can they do with the farm in the rural areas. They can plant trees. They can plant macadamia. They can plant avocado, because it's a crop that you don't have to be there every day. So you can work in the city, and your farm is still generating income for you. So it's very important to balance the two. But all these idle land we are living in the rural areas can be utilized by the young people. And nowadays there's funds for the young people to do farming. There is. Yeah.
And I think now the last one, I just feel like I need to ask this. For example, I'm a young person. How can I reach COFA and ask them to guide me in this?
We do have we are online. We do have a website with our telephone contacts in it. And also in the website, you are able to see what products we have. And we are also in Facebook. We are in Twitter, not too active, but we're actually hunt for a young person who can be doing all that.
Okay.
But yeah, we are visible.
Okay.
Let them get in touch with us. We have an email they can contact in all those forms, and we'll get back to them.
Oh, all right. That's nice. Thank you so much for being with us today, Francescah.
And thank you too
for
giving us a chance.
Thank you so much. That has been Francescah Munyi. She is the founder and CEO of Kofa Limited. And if you're wondering how Kofa is spelled, it's K-O-F-A-R. You can reach them you just Google Kofa, and then you'll reach them on their website and ask for more guidance on your planting journey. If you want to start farming and how to maintain your soil as a farmer, we want just to go for a short break, but we'll be right back with agro commodities, innovations, and agri-facts.